Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of RT Talk. I am Michael Cool, and I am here to give you this very short and brief episode. I was really expecting there to be a lot more to talk about, given that RTX at Home had just wrapped up. Thought there'd be a lot more announcements and things going on, but this is going to be a pretty short and sweet episode. I do want to apologize up front for any background sound you may be hearing, because just on the other side of the wall here and off to my side is an entire crew of people working with a bobcat and I think 3 trucks they are probably 6 feet from where I'm sitting, and it has been very noisy since I got home. I have no idea how long they're going to be here, so I kind of have to deal with it, but I'll mitigate it as much as I can in editing and everything, but it's going to be unavoidable, so I apologize right at the gate. But again, this is going to be a really short, sweet episode. On this episode, we're going to talk about a change in how Achievement Hunter is uploading their content. We're going to talk about the first episode of Tyler Coe's new show, because it's just, an update on a previous RT employee, and we said we would, or, actually give some clarity on what that show would be and everything. We're going to talk about Camp Betrayal, because 2 episodes have now come out, and I have watched both of them. There's an announcement for a Genlock panel that I want to talk about real quick. And then I'm going to kind of just generally talk about relating to the change in Achievement Hunter content. There was an interesting little poll that popped up on Reddit, which, is not necessarily indicative of a lot, but it is interesting to say the least. Getting into it, yeah, Achievement Hunter is switching up how they are uploading content, not in any kind of drastic way. But they're, they've changed to making their announcements and everything on the Chit and Chat show. And this was something that popped up on the subreddit, and luckily they actually included which episode and a timestamp and everything, so it's easy to find. And they kind of put a little transcript basically in there of what was said. And I watched the video just to double check that there was no additional information that was said around this, this point, and also just to verify the quality of this. But yeah, they're no longer going to be uploading videos on Tuesdays for the Let's Play channel. Now, they said that it had to do with quality over quantity, and for those listening, I'll read what the sort of transcript of what Jack said is. But what Jack said was, we are also readjusting. So one other big thing is we are readjusting our content schedule and will not regularly release Let's Play videos on Tuesdays anymore. This is to give us time to make more specialized creative content throughout the week. So we are trying to pare back and make quality content instead of lots of content. Now, if anyone has been listening to this or watching this podcast over time, you know that is also a mantra and a sort of school of thought that I like to fall into. It's probably the biggest reason why we cut RT Talk back to being every other week as opposed to once a week, because, weeks like this, or last week, I would have had to really scrape together all these topics, and it just didn't seem to make sense to constantly make these weekly episodes where there just wasn't a ton to talk about, and doing it bi-weekly gave us opportunity to, build up things to speak about. So, I'm a big fan of doing quality over quantity, and I think it will help the Achievement Hunter content overall, because it's something that's come up and people have talked about, and it's come up in our comments too, that people are just, they don't feel like kind of the spirit is there in a lot of Let's Plays anymore. Now, I do feel like something is different when I watch Let's Plays, but I can't quite pinpoint what it is, because there's still a lot of moments that make me laugh. But when I watch the streams, like their personal streams, watching Michael or Alfredo or whoever, there is something different about how that feels compared to the Achievement Hunter, GTA Monday, and then Gmod Wednesday, Minecraft Friday, and the stream that they upload from Thursdays or on Thursdays rather, and it has a different feeling to it. So my hope would be that with doing this quantity over quality, that would lead to better videos down the road. And I mentioned it last time I listed what I was going to talk about, but I guess it does smoothly transition to the other thing I was talking about. So I might as well just talk about it now. The poll that there was an interesting poll that was on the subreddit, and not a ton of people were responded to the poll, but it was just a general question of, do you think content has been, and then 3 options, which was getting better in recent times, getting worse in recent times, or just an option to see the results. Now, see the results had 216, which was actually was second in terms of the options. So at 216, 178 people said they think it's getting better, but 302 think that it's getting worse. Now, like I said, it doesn't mean there's not a ton of people, so it's not like it means a lot in terms of the overall opinion. But I do think that this poll carries a lot more weight, considering the fact that it was on the Achievement Hunter subreddit, which in general is almost always a very positive, pro kind of Rooster Teeth Achievement Hunter place. For obviously, I mean that's what it's for. So it's you typically would expect that that kind of polling or those results would be I guess be favoring a more positive answer. Now, there was people in the comments that were basically suggesting that if there was an option for it's about the same, that they would have chosen that. But still, it's interesting that there was more people think that it's getting worse in recent times compared to getting better. So I guess the idea that it's to try to introduce more quality to the content versus you just putting out these videos all the time. I think something like the polls like that kind of lead everyone to believe that, yeah, this is a good idea and they should do that. And again, like I said, I am always in favor of that. I don't think that you should just put out something just to put out something. I think it should be something that you are passionate about and that you enjoy. And I think maybe that's what it is with, like I said, the content does feel different now than it did before, is maybe it's more kind of a process. It's almost like it's a manufactured kind of thing where, well, we have to put out GTA, we have to do this, we have to do this. So it's not a passion thing, it's more of an obligation thing. So maybe something like choosing not to make Tuesday Let's Plays will lead to better Let's Plays, or Let's Plays in maybe games that they're more passionate about, or maybe just more creative types of Let's Plays where, it's You Dead's not a great example because it's more of like the rule set that's in there, but it allows them to maybe come up with more games and specialized content like You Dead, because it's very corporate now. So, there's deadlines, there's meetings, there's all the behind the scenes stuff that's happened. It's happened for years and years and years. This isn't like a new update, but I do think that can maybe take out some of the enjoyment and some of the enthusiasm, especially for some people who have been there for a long time. I'm just completely guessing, but I still think it's a good idea to focus on content in that way and focus your energy towards the creative side than just pumping out these Let's Plays. So yeah, that is that story. Just real quickly, I wanted to do a update and just, mentioned it in the last episode, or the episode before that, but that Tyler Coe, former Rooster Teeth employee, had this project that he was working on. But the first episode came out. It's called How Are We Today? The synopsis, or like the tweet that he put out of it, is welcome to my new mental health show where I bring on medical experts and special guests to educate and enlighten us all. And then be sure to subscribe, and has, live on Twitch and everything. The first episode was Meg Turney, and I forgot what her name was, but it was Dr. Marcy Maxwell, who is labeled in the description as our in-house medical expert. So I listened to the first episode. I do like that he's doing the episodes live on Twitch. I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously he's not the first person to do that, but I think it just adds a little better dynamic. You're a little more connected to everyone listening. By a little more, I mean a lot more. But yeah, I listened to the first episode. It seemed, just what I can gather, the first episode was very much felt like an introduction to kind of mental health and mental health issues. I think if you are somewhat familiar with, therapy, or if you know anyone who struggles with mental health or anything like that, I don't think anything on the first episode would necessarily be a groundbreaking thing, but maybe there's a couple tips in there that if you were kind of thinking about maybe doing some sort of therapy or seeking help for maybe something you're afflicted by, there's some information in there that you would be able to take and maybe get started on your own. So he details his own struggle and everything that he was going through, and he talks about his bipolar disorder and then some personal struggles he was going through. But pretty much the synopsis I would give for the episode is that it's more so about getting started and finding the right therapist, and tips for finding a therapist and asking questions, and maybe if someone's listening who has kids, and how to maybe get started with, if for your children or what have you. But yeah, it's definitely, it seems like it's more of a, as of right now anyway, the first episode felt more like a resource podcast, which by that I mean it's something that you would turn to just to gain maybe some information for it. The conversations on it weren't necessarily, it wasn't geared towards being entertaining. It was very serious, and it was meant to just be informative. So we'll see if the show evolves and see if it changes at all or anything, but I would definitely categorize it as it's information. It's there to help people kind of along their journey and I guess their recovery or treatment or whatever, however you want to phrase it. But like I said, I wanted to at least mention it because I said I'd kind of keep tabs and I would give everyone an update for what was happening with Tyler Coe. But I do want to talk about Camp Betrayal, because the 2 episodes are out, and I did say that I wanted to wait for this Bobcat to go by. But I said I wanted to talk about Camp Betrayal whenever it came out after I watched it, because I was really excited for it, had a lot of hope for it, and I gotta be honest, the first 2 episodes have not disappointed me. It's pretty much what it's not like it could diverge that much from the trailers, but it was exactly what I was kind of hoping it was going to be. So far, there's been plenty of really funny moments that have happened, and Renee and I have both been watching it and have been both really enjoying it. So it's been something that I am definitely it's basically marked down that when the new episode comes out, we're going to be watching it. And I would think, I don't know how I would rank it in terms of Rooster Teeth Productions, but especially since it's not wrapped up yet either. But I would say this is probably my favorite thing that they have made since, maybe Immersion, possibly. I'm trying to think of, outside of maybe the, a Let's Play series that they started doing or something like that, because that's a little harder to compare those because those come out so often and change up and everything. But in terms of an actual content and a series that they have created that is a serial show and is going to come out week to week and it is its own contained thing. Well, you know what? I take that back. I said since Immersion. I think maybe since Achievement Hunter, because Achievement Hunter I think was really entertaining, and that was another one that we were watching, and we definitely fell behind at one point, but then got caught up and went through and watched all of them. There's a lot of really entertaining moments in the 2 seasons of that show. But yeah, I am very much enjoying it. I've seen some positive feedback from people that are on the subreddit talking about how much they like it and how it's gotten them back into some content. Personally, it just feels good to see them back kind of on their feet, making a show again just after the last year. I do think that, talking about that poll and everything else, that I think the last year specifically it's been pretty tough. There's been a lot of setbacks, not just pandemic related, but just at the company itself has had a lot of issues. But it is hard to judge how things are going when everything's been chaos, basically. And it just feels good to see them all back together. It feels good to have a new production for them to be working on, and for something like this that I feel like ties in so well to sort of their personalities and how a lot of their games, or more successful games and everything, work, with the lying and deception, and it allows them to be characters and to be goofy. But Yeah, I am very much on board. If you've not watched it, the first episode is on YouTube. You can watch for free. I'm not sure if it's a first only show, to be honest. I don't know. I just got on the site and we watched it. But regardless, if it's on the site, maybe you can watch with ads or something. But I would definitely, from all the time we've been doing RT Talk, I think this is the one show that I would really recommend people who are kind of maybe on the fence for Rooster Teeth, and some people, if you are a fan of Rooster Teeth already and you're already on board, I definitely think you should watch Camp Betrayal. Last thing is just another real quick thing, and it's related to Genlock, and it's kind of an interesting little change to it. So there's a tweet from the Genlock Twitter account that says, it says, join, and then basically the cast at Comic Con at home, July 24th at 6 p.m. For Genlock Season 2 panel. Get an exclusive first look at the new season and learn more about what's coming from Julian, Miranda, and the rest of the team. The only reason I find that interesting is that this announcement and this panel are happening at Comic-Con at home, and being that RTX at home just wrapped up, but they didn't do the panel for them or something related. It just, something about that seems odd, and maybe this is them transitioning Genlock away from Rooster Teeth, or maybe Rooster Teeth is just straight up the production company for it now, and sort of in the same vein as the Transformers show that was on Netflix, where it's not their show, but they produced it and it did all the animation for it and everything. So it was just an interesting tidbit. I'm sure there's probably people who were much more into Genlock, or maybe into the whole saga of, you know, what the show is becoming. I know it went to HBO Max and all that stuff. I'm sure people have more information on this than I do. I've still have yet to watch Genlock. I've been planning on it since it came out, and it's one of those shows that I just never remember whenever I'm looking for something to watch. But yeah, if you have more information, let us know and what's kind of happening with this. But it was, being kind of on the outside, I found that to be somewhat interesting. That's going to be it for this episode. Again, it was very short, very to the point. To be honest, I'm happy that it happened this way because of all the work that's going on outside. It has been very difficult to try to restart what I've been saying and having to basically edit on the fly as I've been recording. So it's been somewhat of a headache to do just this short episode. So if there was more to talk about and this was a full-blown episode, it would have been a problem. But thank you for listening, everybody, as always. Thank you for all the people who've subscribed and comment and like and everything else. If you are someone that you feel like is that the AH content has been sort of getting worse or declining, let us know in the comments, because you know it's a conversation that's been popping up frequently about people who have dropped off, or you know have sort of maybe not been paying attention, or they felt like content was changing. I've had a back and forth with a few people who are saying how they have fallen off and why they fell off. But let us know, you know, if you feel that way and why you feel that way. And also, as a third, I know this is like homework, but as a third, I'd be interested to know what it would take for you to come back in. Obviously, some of that's a little bit unknown, so you can't answer it 100%, but maybe like, oh, if they brought back this person, or if they did this thing, then I would probably be back on board. But let us know in the comments, and as always, listen to Out in the Grapes every Wednesday, and we'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode of RT Talk. So thank you, everybody, and goodbye.